Hello everyone, in this video we discuss underfitting and overfitting for decision trees. This is very important because a lot of textbooks and online resources, they talk about polynomial regression models to discuss underfitting and overfitting. However, our goal in this video is to first introduce decision trees, which are extremely important for machine learning and data science, and then discuss the ideas behind underfitting and overfitting in the context of decision trees. I will also put the link to this Jupyter notebook in the description down below. And if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos. So what is a decision tree? A decision tree is a non-parametric algorithm for classification and regression. So what does it mean when we say non-parametric? It means that we learned the structure of this tree, very similar to what we have here, during training directly from data rather than studying them in advance. So this is a very important advantage of decision trees compared to parametric models such as linear regression, polynomial regression, neural network regressors, and so on. So therefore, they are very important in terms of being able to directly learn from data these underlying patterns. And what do we mean by patterns? It means that, well, when we have a tree, we need to know a certain terminology. The first thing is this root node, which means that we're going to put a condition on one of the features or predictors that we have. So for example, we say in a regression problem, if we only have one input, if this input is less than this number, if it is true, then this will happen. And if it is false, something else will happen. So we're going to differentiate between these two sets of values that we get for the feature or predictor. And then this gives us these children nodes, or what we call it as intermediate or internal nodes. And these are decision rules on, again, some features. It can be the same feature or other features. And then we have these branches here, that these are the ones that in this case, they're trues or falses. And therefore, what we really have is that we're going to have something that is very easy to read for humans, meaning that we're going to start with some condition, then this is true or false. Based on that, again, we can have other conditions. And at the end, we get to these leaf nodes, and these are final predictions, which means that if we have classification, we have class labels, and if we have regression, we have these continuous values that are what we predict for the target variable. So one thing that is very important to understand when you're working with decision trees is the concept of tree depth. So what is tree depth? Is the number of splits or the number of levels. So this is level 1, this is level 2, and this is something that you have to set in advance. Meaning that although we don't want to specifically say what the depth should be, we usually put a limit on the total number of levels. Meaning that once you, for example, use scikit-learn's implementation of decision trees, either for regression or classification, there is a parameter called max depth, and you set that, for example, equals to 5, 10, and that is very important because when the tree grows and becomes deeper, very similar to neural networks and deep learning models, it can capture more complex patterns, but this can increase the risk of overfitting. And what is overfitting? Overfitting in general, you can think of this as a scenario where a machine learning model learns the data too well, which means that it's going to memorize random fluctuations and noise and other things in the data that in general we do not care about, right? So we know that real data is always noisy, and we usually want to actually smooth out the noise and not necessarily capture that and instead focus on the true patterns. And overfitting is kind of like the opposite side. It really fits into all these random fluctuations and noise, and it can stop us from understanding these true relationships in the data. And I will explain these topics in a little bit using a synthetic data set. So therefore, one thing I want to kind of like as a takeaway here is that the depth of a tree is very important. In this case, we have depth 2, so that's 1, this is 2, and we want to see what happens as we increase the depth of a decision tree model. In order to explain this, let's look at a synthetic data set that you see here. So in this case, we have 80 inputs from 0 to 5, so I randomly selected 80 data points from 0 to 5, and I call this X. And then I assume that the true relationship is sine of X. And the reason I'm using the sine function, one of the trig functions that you're probably familiar with, is because this is a nonlinear function. So it's very nice to be able to relate these to real world problems with nonlinear structures. And then I add some random Gaussian noise. So you can see that these training data points here, these 80 data points, they are not exactly on this sine function. So they are around it, and obviously that depends on the variance of the noise. And in this case, we're looking at 4 decision trees with different depths. And here, when I say different depths, I mean different maximum depths. In a sense that when you train, when you instantiate and train a decision tree regressor in scikit-learn, you have to set this parameter usually. And in the first case, we force this to only have maximum of 1 level. Then in the second case, 3 levels, 5, and 10 levels. So we know that as we increase the level, we get a more complex model. And then we perform training, and then we use some test data to see the shape or the behavior of the prediction that we get. So this is exactly what we have here. So we see we have our training data, we have the true function, which is that sine, and this red one is what we predict. So this is very interesting, right? Because when the max depth is set to be 1, we only get 2 possible values, right? So something about like close to like 0.6 or so here, and then the other value is like negative 0.6, right? Something like that. We're going to dig deeper into this, but just looking at this, we have 2 possible values. And then when the level is 3, you can see that now obviously we have more possibilities. So that's 1 value for this region, 1 value, and these are these other values for these other sort of like, regions in the input space. And as we increase the max depth, you can see that we find a more sort of like, finer scale prediction function, right? Especially with 10, you can see that now we can get a lot of details. But that's exactly the idea behind overfitting, right? Because what's happening here, you can see that now because of the extra complexity that we have here, we can do a really good job of going through all these data points or training data points. However, that actually takes us away from the true behavior of this function, which was that sine function. Whereas, for example, the one with max depth 3, you can see that even though it's simpler, it does overall a better job of capturing the shape of this sine function without have too much wiggling. And when we use max depth if it equals to 1, you can see the problem, which is underfitting, right? Because this is a very coarse or simple or poor approximation of the sine function using only 2 values. So here you can see this idea behind underfitting to the case that we have overfitting. And so when we have, for example, max depth equals 10, how many total possibilities we have for predicted values? Let me know in the comments down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And we can do this also for higher values of depth. So for example, for depth 3, you can see that now we have 1, 2, and 3 levels. So first we're going to use the same 3.186, which is here, as our first condition. And then we're going to have 2 other conditions, whether it is less than 2.612, right? And if you can see, it's easier probably if you look at the last level, because these are our final predictions, if you remember from the previous 2 or 3 slides. And you can see that we get this value 0.304. So that's exactly this, 0.304. Then we get to 0.826, So that's 0.826, and then 0.4, and etc. And you can see at the end we get to negative 1.011. So that's our last predicted value that you can see here. So you can see that depending on how many leaf nodes we can have underfitting versus overfitting. And I definitely encourage you to use the code that I provided to look at different values of max depth and see where you can find a good balance between underfitting and overfitting for this specific data set. So the last thing I want to discuss here, something that you don't find again in many textbooks, is that how many possible predicted values we have when we set the max depth to a number. So in a binary decision tree, which is the default when you use decision tree regressor in scikit-learn, at each level, the tree can split nodes into two branches, right? So you can see that we get two branches, etc. So this means that when we are level 1, the total possibilities is 2 to the power of 1. Then we get to level 2 is 2 to the power of 2. And when we get to the last here level, which is level 3, is 2 to the power of 3, which is 8.